Alright, I think we've got a stream here. I just gotta wait until I see it's working on Twitch. Let's see, I want to see if I sound alright. Got the chat room up. Wonder if let me know if I should boost the mic at all, because sometimes I know I'm a little quiet. Let's see, yeah, this is all the way up, but I do have my speakers down. Alright, let's see. Any feedback on the audio out there yet? Anyone can tell me if it's working well enough? I think it's good because I can hear myself. So I'm gonna just say that it's good until I hear otherwise. Let me put out another tweet to announce that I've officially started. All right. Wait, one more thing. Alright, now we're up and running. Let me put down this so I can keep an eye on one other thing. You go away. Pause you. Alright. Cool. Alright, so what I'm doing today is I'm working on a game jam engine. And by game jam engine, what I mean is whenever I'm participating in a game jam, it doesn't always mean that there's actually a competition or everyone throw your game into a game jam theme thing. It just means I plan on doing like a couple days or a week-long game in the future. In this case, I'm making a Halloween game, which is a tradition I've been doing for a few years now. And I want a new engine because I don't. The old one works, but it doesn't have some of the stuff that I want in an engine. And you know, it's fun to just do a little recreational programming anyway. So this weekend, I'm gonna try to get to the platform layer for Windows and the graphics stuff up and running. And the graphics stuff will use modern OpenGL profile shaders and everything. So we'll see how far into that I can actually achieve today. So first things first, I'm setting up my build.bat. We're starting from like the very beginning. So that's going to be a call to CL. Now I plan to do a slightly different organization of the platform layer this time around. So jam2 main.cpp and then jam2 win32.cpp will be compiled as two compilation units into a single binary, and that'll be a DLL. So let's see. What is the CL command? Let me pull this up over here actually. cl command for DLL. There we go. What have you got, people? Link DLL /LD. Alright, let me double check something real quick. It just occurred to me I might not have. Yeah, there we go. That fixes that. This is early for people in Seattle, isn't it, Abner? What do you know? I've lived my whole life believing that the Eastern time zone is the center, is the correct time zone. So I don't even think about people like you. It doesn't even cross my mind when I pick a time. Alright, so we're gonna do /LD. Maybe I should just go read one of my other DLLs, because this doesn't look like it's helping. Link DLL. Yeah, but how do I... Okay, you guys aren't any help. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Let me just go read some of my other code. Let's see. Fored. Your build.bat has DLLs, right? No, because it's in build.cpp now. Okay. .dll. DLL. Shared code. Okay, so I start with LD like that. Busy chat. Let's see, we have that, and then blah blah blah, and then link stuff happens. So this is all in the link line. Opt-ref. So I have to do like link, I believe. Or line. Oh, okay, there we go. I can do link with a dash, and then incremental no. Oops. And then then I come down here and yeah, opt ref, and then finally all of my exports. Actually, I'm doing this wrong. This is for later. With this, what I want is we'll call this jam2.exe, right? Like that. That should work. Okay, so I was wrong. This is the executable, not the DLL. And now we can go back to what's going on here. Did I not? Oh, I don't have a project file yet. Yeah. Okay, so let me go to jam2 code. Save this. Good. Project.forcoder. Just have to go back to forcoder real quick to look at an example project file. There we go. Build.bat, compilation true. Okay. Jam2 code, save you, and load project. Now, if I go to messages, do I have a project loaded? I do. So let me run that. Great. So now it's complaining when I run my build that it can't find the code files. So we have the first step of the build going. Hey there, Crowetha. By the way, what is the title of my stream today? I always forget to check that when I start. So is it wrong? Or is it okay? Does it say I'm working on forcoder, for instance? Yeah, it does. That's wrong. Okay, let me change the title so that we all know what I'm actually working on. It is not Forcoder Friday. It is Game Jam Saturday. Or Game Jam Engine. Jam Engine. Engine Jam. How about that? Alright, so I just need to edit this. It's not Forcoder Friday, this is Jam Engine Saturday. Done. Okay. Yes, I'll be doing Forcoder sometime in the future, but that time has not yet come. I'm thinking November. I think I'll take the month of November to port Forcoder to Mac and add whatever features I can fit after that. Okay. So this is the Jam 2 engine main entry point. Generic entry point. And the created, or I'm just going to put a date down right here. It is 23.09.2017. Day, month, year. Alright. And then this is going to include a function called jam2main. It looks like this. And it's going to include a header called jam2 like system.h maybe. And that's all we'll write for that for now. I want to make basically the plan for this engine is to split the platform layer into two files. One that one that is like JAM2 main would work on any operating system, and this will be the Windows specific stuff. As a new way to try to split the shared and unshared portions of a platform layer. Kind of an experiment that I might reproduce in 4Coder if it goes well. So let's see, save that. I need jam to win32.cpp. This will feature a win main. Okay. And that also has jam2 system.h. Is that reasonable? I don't think so. I think what that wants is like include jam2 entry point.h. How do I want to do this? You know what? I'll just call that jam system bridge, maybe? I don't like naming files that way, so this is like system decals. That's what we'll call this. Okay. So then one more file, system decals.h. Will look like this. Okay, actually first let me win32 entry point. And this over here is the jam2 engine system function declarations. Okay, so that's good, and then the first one we have is, whoops, let me pull up over here, jam2 main. So this is the sig of generic entry point. And that's going to look like this. Void jam2 main. Well, actually, let me do it this way. N void generic entry point. Define generic entry point. No, I don't need this. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying something a little different here, so I'm not sure how it should go, but I think this will be the right way to do it. Okay. Generic entry point. So here I'm declaring that I have a generic entry point. Here I'm actually defining the generic entry point. And in Win32 I'll be able to see that generic entry point, and then I'll be able to do the same thing to push functions from that side to this side. But that will basically be something like this. That's actually completely wrong, but That's the idea. Okay, so this file needs to know about windows.h kinds of things. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to track down the build.bat right here, because I want all of my standard options in my build.bat. That's for later. Okay. There we go. Yes, Rupin 3, I'm going from scratch to build a new game engine because it's, it's recreational programming time. I don't see any reason to try to skip over any of the parts. I'm trying a structure that I haven't done before, so I can't really clone much of my existing stuff anyway. Everything's going to be a little different. Okay. What just happened? I thought, oh, I have to actually include my options. There we go. Cool. So that there is what it looks like when I have two compilation units going into the same exe, which I'm not used to seeing this line, but I guess that's reasonable. It's cool. So, yeah, so let's get into here, and I want to make a to-do list of all the things I need that I want to get working. So, we need a thread system. And then I need a message protocol system. Then I want OpenGL init, and then I want to do like a shader managing thing. That's the stuff I want to get done today. Maybe something like a main loop. Okay, so first things first, this is going to involve threads, so I want to get that up and running right away. Basically, let me write what this needs to be able to do. Is right off the bat, I want it to like launch, or like thread launch jam2 main. So there's thread launch void. Now the only problem with that is, okay, so thread launch really ought to take a second parameter there, and it might want to return some kind of a thread handle. That should be enough space. So I return a handle, and wait, that's, how many bytes is that? That's 16 bytes. Yeah, it's fine. Hi there, Shandu, something like this. So this is a thread launch function, and this should take a thread proc kind of thing and a putter, right? And so we need like let me put in some like helper separation things here. 4, 8, 16, 38. That'll do. this is the thread proxig void n void pointer type def thread proxig thread proc. Okay, so that defines my thread proc type. Now the only problem is I can't pass that to that, but what I could do is very easily say that I have some kind of a wrapper. I could also just say that jam2 main takes a void pointer that's always 0. That wouldn't kill me. Alright, and then we're going to say there, thread launch. So define that. Thread launch. Oh, you know what might be good? I could solve my problem of not having visibility if I did this and then went proc putter right there. That's kind of interesting. Chandu 16. I guess it could be open source. It's not going to use anything particularly fancy that I would need to keep. You know, I'll make this open source. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to. I'll post it on my GitHub when I'm done with the game jam. Or at least maybe when I'm done with the engine jam. What did I name this stream again? Let's see. I named this stream Jam Engine. Yes. Okay, Jam Engine. When I'm done with this Jam Engine, which won't be this weekend. This weekend I'm just getting graphics. I still have to do the primary input and audio systems too, but those are a much lighter weight compared to what I want to do with graphics for this one. But yeah, I'll make it open source. Okay. So let's see. Thread launch needs to be implemented, but I'm going to put a to-do on that. Not implemented. Alright, right about now would be a good time for me to back up and do my defines. Jam2 defines h, define, and if. Chandu asks, what kind of dev are you? Are you a system programmer? I generally work on sort of low-level-ish, kinds of things. So the project I often work on this stream, which I haven't done recently because I've been devoting more time to my day job, but it's a project called 4Coder, which is this editor I'm using here. So I kind of do applications programming, but I do like low-level work on applications programming, if that makes sense. So yeah, system programmer is a pretty good description, but there's definitely people who are much more systems programmer-y than me. I'm kind of at the high-level end of system programming. Okay, so my defines file, let's see, will be, I'm just going to copy this out of 4Coder. I want standard int and all these guys that I always use. I'll simplify this down to this for now. I want these guys. I want these guys. Let's see, are these all good? Internal, local, persist, global. I'll get rid of the const ones. We'll keep external, that's a good one. Array count. Allow local and member are all pretty good. I'll take all of these assert things. Swap min max, that's all good. That's all good. I'll take that. That. These are all good. Okay, that's what I will take out of this. Yeah, so proc putter. Handle. Okay, so that's building. I'm gonna launch Visual Studio now. Wait, you didn't find jam2.exe. Hold on a minute. Did I just dump all of that into the code directory? I did. Whoopsie. Alright, we need to go to build. Oops, get rid of you. Yes. Build. I want to push the build directory. And then these have to be /code/. Now let's see if I can launch Visual Studio. Yeah, there we go. No debug information. Okay, let's get debug info up and running. Oh, I forget how debug information. It's ZI, right? Perfect. Okay. We've got our debugger working. Now I want to push ahead. I want main.cpp and win32.cpp up. What's the next stuff I need to do? So I need to launch that thread, and then the first thing the thread needs to do is yeah, so this is where I have to think about this a little bit how I want this to work, but I want there to be things like window init, test 800 by 600. And then I want it to be able to do something like infinite loop, input poll, Poll message. Um, just a message, and then to do stuff in there, right? So I want to implement, or I want to fill out functions like that real quick. And this maybe wants to have a thing where it gives me a handle. So I'll call this like the window handle. And then pass that in here, 'cause that's generally how operating systems like to have things work. Crowleaf, I do have a game planned. Me and the artist who I'm working with have discussed it for about 2 weeks now, and we're planning to make it at the end of October for Halloween. I think maybe I'm not sure if you were here when I mentioned that that's the plan. I'm gonna sit on the details of the game, of like a lot of the details of the game right now, just because we're still working them out, and I don't want to get caught up discussing game design today. But I will mention the basic idea, which is a bit of fun, which is that it's kind of a Sims slash RTS game. It's like a somewhere in between. I say that because it's not really an RTS where you have units that you control directly, and it's more like a Sims where you just kind of issue things like in SimCity where you're like, I kind of want this city built this way, like I want roads here and buildings here, and then people kind of take care of it for you, but you don't issue specific commands to specific units, and you also aren't combating against an enemy that operates the same way you do, like in RTS. But you have a victory condition, and there's a bit more of like resource management on the RTS side of it too. And the theme is that you are managing over hell, because it's a Halloween theme game. So you're like it's kind of like you're managing the resources in hell, trying to achieve goals, and building things up and trying to build it out and stuff. Okay, so let's see. We need those functions that I just said I was going to make. So handle. Now, one thing I want to be able to do is specify full screen, question mark. I want to think about how I want the API for that to work. Let's see. Yeah, we like to do kind of like wacky fun games for Halloween. So the last one we did was this sort of Tetris-like game. We have it on GameJolt. Maybe I'll link to it in the chat real quick, just to give you an idea of the kind of thing we like to do for a Halloween game. And this is probably the game that I've made that I'm most proud of out of like all the. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's not like, this wasn't like our most ambitious game that we ever played or worked on or anything, but it's like it just turned out the best. And kind of by luck, but let me see if I can find the game page here. Yeah, the GameJolt UI has gotten weirder over time. But yeah, I'm fairly proud of our results here, and we're kind of trying to recreate the same spirit of somewhat wacky fun. Let me see if I can remember how to log in to Twitch. Alright, here it is. Hopefully you guys can see the link I just posted. Alright, I'm going to resume not being distracted now. Decals. Okay. So this is for threads. This right here is for the window and message loop stuff. So let's see. Window init returns a handle, and right now it takes a title, a width, and a height. That might be changing. No, I'm not complaining. It's my own job to decide how much interaction I do with the chat versus how much working I do. You know how it goes. Alright, this one looks like this. It returns a bool. It takes a handle, window handle, and a message pointer. Oops, let me get this one too. Let me simplify those names, because, I mean, this is just a macro. They don't need to be good names there. So this is title width height, poll message, window handle, message out. There we go. Now I need to define system message, which is fair enough. A system message for now will look like this. We're going to have an enum. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Darn forcoder. You have features that don't make any sense sometimes. Alright, decals.h. Type def. Or features that sometimes don't make any sense, is what I mean to say. I'm not sure if that made sense the first time. System message type. And then we're going to have, like, I don't know, sysmessage count. And I'll build that out later. But we're going to have a system message type right here, followed by a union of things that I don't have yet. So there's your system message struct. Nope. This is the problem. Okay, what I need is that. No. We've got an issue. We have a serious issue here now. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, it's back to working. Oof. I have to turn off the ability to delete panels, because I never want to do that, but I have it built in, and it's no good. Alright, so now it's just complaining that those things aren't implemented, which is true, because they're not. So bring that over here, and put Win32 right here. We're going to put line or space breakers like that. Alright, we need a window init. Not implemented. That needs to return a handle. And we want a pull message. That needs to return okay. Hey Ararith, I'm working on a game engine from scratch for a solo game jam I'm gonna do. By solo I mean not that I'm the only person working at it, but I'm the only entrant into the jam because we made it up for our own amusement. But I wanted to prepare a new engine for it because I want to. There's a couple reasons for it. I want an engine that uses modern OpenGL instead of old style OpenGL, which is what my previous jam engine uses. and it also, I want to try a new structure for my platform layer. Something that I think will make it slightly easier to reuse for multiple games and slightly easier. Like right now, my engines have a problem where once you've ported your game to multiple platforms, it's hard to use that engine for different games anymore because as you port to multiple platforms, a portion of the code that is tied specifically to the game logic in the platform layer gets more solidified because you've got so many copies of it, and this is an attempt to make a thin layer of separation between the game logic portion of the platform layer and just the raw like calls that the platform layer provides. So the true platform layer here on the left provides an entry point, like threads, window opening kinds of things, and then there's a generic platform portion of the platform layer over here in a separate compilation unit that can't see any of that Windows stuff that just calls to things, and what will happen is this runs a thread that is the generic entry point, and sends it things on a message queue. Okay, so what else do I want to make this start working? So once this launches, we have to think about. I have to think about a couple of things. So if this right away just went into a message queue, that wouldn't work. A message loop, I mean. What actually needs to happen is that when this asks to create a window, that creates the window and then begins the loop. But that begins it in this thread here. So, how would I make that happen? The way I would make that happen is after launching this thread, after launching the true entry point, this would wait until it knows that there's a window ready to go. Yeah. So what I need is like up here, or yeah, we'll do it up here. Struct win32. This is going to need how do I want this to work? It's a little bit more confusing than I expected. I want some kind of call that's like thread wait for signal, and then that signal is like some object where I'm like created window. Okay, so I do need like struct win32 or struct system, maybe even. This might even be the same across platforms. Let's see. Has window. Um, uh, So we wait until we created a window. Alright, let me make a quick jam to memblock.h, much like defines. This is going to have this kind of structure here, that there, and memory block operations, and if, and this is here like jam to memblock memblock h. There we go. And then we can define there we go. So there we go. That will zero out my system block at the beginning. And then we launch the main thread, and then we wait to hear that it has created the window. At which point we begin doing a game loop, basically. So we do something like for keep looping, we'll have to figure out how to set this to false later, but we now need to pull up pull peak message? Yes, peak message. So the plan is to do this. So we peek at a message. Actually, why would we do that? Why don't we just say let's try something different. Instead of peak message, let me see, where is the related, like what is it? I always do this, okay, get message. The difference being that this will wait until it finds a message, which is all this thread ever needs to do. So it's going to get a message. So it needs MSG, the message. It needs a handle for the window. So that is the window we get when that happens. So let's come up here and say so this will have a handle called the window handle, and then we will have a call right here that's like to win32 hwind sys.window handle. What do these filters do? The integer value of the lowest message value to be retrieved. To specify the first keyboard message, or mouse word to specify the first mouse message, or input. Specify both 0, returns all. Okay, so I want these to both be 0. There we go. Let me implement that little helper real quick. hwind to hwind takes a handle. And how large is hwind? Well, all I really have to do is assert that size of hwind is less than or equal to the size of handle. Nah, this way. Handle R equals oh, that doesn't work. Okay, so what I actually want to do is hwind is less than or equal to that. So this, the nice way to do this would be to block 0 R size of R, block move into R from handle the size of R. Right, that would be the nice way to do this. And by nice I mean like no surprises. Hi there, Tharsic. Alright, so destination source plus plus d plus plus s, d equals s. There we go. So now I can do that. This down here. It's like a reverse of that mostly. Right, you go handle, R, you do that, hwind, and then it's not size of R though. So really what this is it's the min size of R, size of, let's call it H. Let's change this up here to H. Size of R. Assert. Size of R is less than or equal to size. That's not right. So what I'm kind of doing here is I'm trying to move it to a state where I can turn this into a macro. So yeah, this takes the minimum of those two sizes again, it does the block move. Okay. So this we can I think the best way to macro these would be to go type. Type. Okay, so internal type to, we'll call that name. Thank you, forcoder. Handle H. Type R. Assert. Just copy all of this. Okay. Now, most of this we can cut down on. There we go. Okay, so we put down the signature, we declare the type and assert, then we zero out R, we block move, and we return. So that's the toWin32 type. hwind, hwind. I also want to define from win32 type name internal handle from name type H handle R. Assert all of this. On the next line, do the exact same thing again. Block 0 the R, move the smaller of the two into there. Okay, now we don't actually need to do that min there because we're asserting which one is smaller. So here it's R that we're moving, and here it's H that we're moving. From win32 hwind, hwind. There we go. Okay. So now if I need to do more of these, which I expect I will, I can just stamp them out with macros. Okay, so that lets me do 2 hwind on that right there and get the message. And then from there what I need to be able to do is like posting a message to a queue and like decoding it. So I'll decode the message and then I will just a message. Technically the way you do this is supposed to be with a callback. Oh yeah, that's not unreasonable. All right. Let me here. I need to go down here and say not implemented, so that later I've got to come back and set the callback for the window when it is created and do the dispatch stuff here. Okay. So does that Team R&B, you can see the files now. Also, does the font need to be bigger? I guess I didn't stop and ask, but I usually use like 14-point font, but sometimes I have to bump that up to 16 for streams. So if anyone has an issue with that, let me know too. Okay. So what we want to do now is I want to fill out some of the stuff that it's telling me I haven't filled out. So for instance, system signal. Right. Oh, system signal could just be a handle. Bye, Khalifa. So Rupin3 asks, what was Jam 1? The first Jam engine Wow, why do I have two of these now? The first jam engine was used to make a Halloween game last year, and the year before that. We did the same game twice, but we basically improved the game the second time around. Um, and that game was posted on Game Jolt, so you could check it out in the link I'm sending now. Um, that one was actually a game jam, and the theme was like scoreboard. Game Jolt was trying to popularize their scoreboard API, and so we made a game where you get a score, but like we put in like a random number generator that generates 6 digits. So like the six least significant digits are just randomly generated, and then like you have these massive like trillion point scores, which is kind of fun. Um, but we kind of really liked the mood that we set when we were like goofing around there. And then we started it the next year. When Halloween came around, we just took the game and improved it. And we're doing a new game this time. And I felt like doing a game engine for a separate game engine this time around, just because I'm feeling like doing it. But Jam Engine 1 was uh, much simpler than the one not sim. It was much more basic. Old style OpenGL, no shaders, not really built for portability. No cool experiments like what I'm doing this time. Block mem. Block 0 identifier. Oh, I didn't include it. I have to include it. So, include jam2 memblock.h. There we go. Now, should system signal be something different than a handle? I'm second guessing myself now. I think it should just be a handle. Okay, thread wait for signal. That I need to put under here. Alright, now I need to track down the libraries for. Why don't I get this out of Jam 1 actually? Um, you can see I had to link a bunch of weird stuff to get it working. I ended up compiling my own wrapper for the API because I didn't want to deal with it. It was all C++ madness. But the ones we need today are, so far we probably need this one. And I'll grab those other ones, as I suspect they might come up later. sure if glue 32 will come up, but it might. Okay. Great. Okay. So let me get rid of that. Go back to Win32. Okay, so we're starting to fill out a lot of this. Now, what is the thing that goes here? It's time to work that out. Brat. Function retrieves a message rather than WM quit. The return value is not. If the function returns the WM quit message, the return value is 0. Interesting. So this is the status here where we're going to translate and dispatch the message. Like so. Let's see what to do. So what we really want to do now is probably figure out how to get the window actually up and running and not hitting any not implemented like that. So thread launch. I'm pretty sure it's create thread that I want. Hey, Team R&B, no problem. I'll give the summary again. It's not an issue. So, Jam 2, the engine is what I'm working on today, which is I just felt like for the game that we're going to work on, by we I mean me and the artist partner I'm working with, uh, I wanted to make a new engine to experiment with a different structure for an engine that I feel like might solve some problems I have in 4Coder, and I'm just experimenting with this to see how I like it in a kind of a low-stakes scenario. And I'm also wanting to make an engine better than the original Jam engine that I've used for the last couple of years for my little Jam games. because that engine uses old-style OpenGL, and I can just do a better job now. I can make it use proper OpenGL with shaders and some shader management stuff that I think will be more fun to have available. So, yeah, I'm just making a today. What I'm working on is a from scratch game engine for the Windows operating system on OpenGL that'll just do its graphics stuff. It won't do proper input or um, it won't do input or audio stuff or any of that kind of thing yet. It will eventually, just not yet. And the other plan is oh, the other thing you might be asking about is what is the game? The game is just a Halloween-themed game, basically sort of a Sims slash RTS mix kind of thing. It has elements of both genres, um, and the theme is that you're managing and building out hell and interacting with demons and things in hell who are kind of your units, and doing fun, goofy stuff, which is what we like to do on our Halloween game jams. Okay, so we want to create a thread. So yeah, I want a to from for handle. That kind of raises the point that I could just do like a convert win32 tn, which would just be to win32 tn from win32 tn. Okay, security attributes. Okay, so 0 there. Stack size. Let's 0 there. Start address. That is the proc. Parameter, that's putter. DW creation flags. So Team R&B asks, what's my time limit situation? Basically, I'm trying to get the engine done during recreational programming time. So like when I have free time, before the last week of October, then we're going to spend a few, like it looks like maybe about a week, the last week of October, actually doing the game itself. Like I'm pre-doing the engine just as a separate thing for fun. And the artist has also done some concept art and like worked out some game theme stuff and thinking about that kind of thing. But the actual putting the things together and making it work is all going to happen like in a concentrated 1 week period of time. But there's a little bit of loosey whatever we want to get set up beforehand happening right now. Alright, creation flags. Thread runs immediately. That's what I want. Thread ID, a pointer to a variable that receives the thread identifier. Thread ID. Okay, well I need to see other thread functions and see what they use that for. I can't remember. that gets called from within the thread. All right. I think we can just get a 0 there, and we'll do handle equals to handle the thread handle, or actually that's from handle oh, I've changed my mind. We're going to do it this way. Okay, we better look at that. Thread start routine. It returns a D word. Okay, that's not a problem. What I will do for that is so they're passing me 2 pointers. If I have a wrapper, now the problem is just how do I get my, I would need to like convert that into, yeah, that's tough. Okay. That's no fun. Because what I would need to be able to do is push down the function pointer and the data and the user pointer. You want me to turn up the volume on the mic? I'll see what I can do. No guarantees that I can figure this out. Let's see, I don't even know which one of these is like the real one. It's probably this one, right? Wait, that's webcam. That can't be right. It's this one, the one with the check. It's very confusing, but that's Sobo. Okay, let's look at the properties of that. Turn up the boost a little bit. It feels like it's going to be super loud. Is that super loud? That's good? You want that way? Okay, great. Then I'll keep that boost up, because it was looking like it was super low over here. And people have always complained about me not being able to be heard, but I think I just have been adjusting the webcam mic this whole time, and that's why I was never able to make it louder. Okay, so the problem is, again, let me look real quick and see, does Linux have, so I want to see like the pthread stuff. Pthread create. thread t start routine. So that returns a void pointer and takes a void pointer. So they do have different signatures, which isn't lovely. Okay. And they only take one of these, so I would have to pass what I would have to be able to do is like this, right? Something like this, right? But then that raises the question, does that mean that thread launch has to allocate a thread data? Or what? I'd love to be able to store that on the stack of the new thread. If I could pass it for a moment from my stack to its stack, and just make sure it gets the copy before my own thread exits. But that means I have to like sleep my thread until that one launches, and then signal my thread to wake back up once it has copied the stuff into its stack. Is there not a way to copy something onto somebody else's stack or into a memory space or something? Alternatively, what I can do is have a different thread procsig for each platform. But I don't love that. Alright, so the easiest thing to do right now that doesn't involve figuring out why threads are stupid is I could just allocate these on the heap. Hey, John Wooding. I am working on a toy game engine for a game jam, and I'm working on it from scratch. It's day one. I think I'm going to have to allocate these on a heaps type thing, so we're going to pop this up here. We're going to have like a thread data get your data equals get thread data. Free thread data. disperse that like so. So I allocate it. I'm going to pass that in right there. Wrapper thread proc right there. And then this is just proc putter, I guess. Or why don't I separate that out? So data proc equals proc, putter equals putter. Dayouter asks if 4021 fixes random crashes on Arch Linux. Unfortunately, I don't know, because I don't know where those random crashes are coming from. Uh, um, so yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I've touched that kind of stuff. I would need some way to zero in on what that problem is. Unfortunately, I was never successful in setting up a virtual machine that runs Arch Linux so that I could do stuff like testing that to see if it's related. It might just be that you're doing something. Actually, yeah, it might just be that you're doing something that would crash any operating system's version of 4Coder. I don't know. Yeah, so I need to you know, at some point I'll take a month of 4Coder work and then I'll be able to zero in on that. For now, I'm sorry, I don't really know if it's fixed or not. It probably isn't, because I don't know enough about what that is to say that it is. Unless you can give me more details about what the crash is, but it sounds like you're just uncertain yourself what the crash is. I have fixed some. Yeah, so one thing that's happening is I'm going to do a Mac port, and then the next big thing I'm going to do, I'm no longer doing little things, because I just was spending too much time adding like one feature a month. And really I want to get big things done right now, so I'm going to wait till November and do a Mac port, and then I'll probably wait another 3 or 4 months and do a rewrite of the primary buffer engine, which still is crashy once in a while, and that rewrite, a part of it is that I'm testing things a lot more carefully. Like, I have a more carefully built test system to really stress and make sure it doesn't crash under any circumstance, hopefully. And then hopefully that will be the problem. But if it's not, it might not be a buffer problem, because I don't know, sometimes crashes aren't. I mean, the most common crashes are like an assert on a buffer operation, but that's not the only thing that can go wrong. Okay, so now what I want is these thread data things, and this is getting right into my typical problem where thread data is going to want to be shared, but it's not on the shared side of the system. It's on the unshared side, right? So now all of my platforms are going to need a shared thread data allocation scheme, because it's going to be the same for all of them. The scheme will be. But then the lower level thread launch uses that thread data system. Alternatively, I could go the way of saying that every platform has a different thread proc signature. want to do. The whole goal of this is to reduce the degree to which there is duplication across the platform, the various platform implementations, and it's already creeping up again. There's got to be a better way to launch these threads without having to make thread data. What happens if I just cast these? I mean, they take the same inputs, the only difference is the outputs. It has some kind of, it screw up the registers or something, right? dword is a 4-byte thing. Void pointer is an 8-byte thing, so you can't just say return some 8 bytes. Theodore asks, why not have threads be a platform specific like it is in Handmade Hero? You'd have to explain what you mean by that. I'm familiar with the way in Handmade Hero you don't actually launch a thread from the game code, but that's not what's happening here. I'm trying to be able to make a single launch thread call that is shared across all of the platforms, because there's a lot of stuff that wants to happen. Like, suppose I do what Handmade Hero does, then I run into a problem where I'm locked into one particular like threading pattern. If I have some other extra thread that I want to launch that's just not a thread pool thing, but like in this case, a thread that will make it possible to abstract between Mac and everybody else, I have to be able to launch a thread anyway. Like, I need to be able to launch a single thread that does something specific all the time. And if I don't wrap that in one single API that works on every platform, then the problem I get into is that I have to duplicate all of the logic that launches threads. That's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to have launch thread be a single API that works the same on every platform. The problem I'm running into is that on Windows, the actual create thread call right here requires you return a dword, and on Linux it requires you return a void star. On the pthread system, it requires you return a void star. So I can't have one thread proc that is the same signature across on two different platforms unless I do an in-between thing, right? Where I pass in my function pointer and then I call that from a wrapper that gives the correct signature to the operating system. I would do that. So John Wooding suggests that everything is a void star and use preprocessor macros to cast to the right platform, but that doesn't really solve the problem either, because if I still don't have a wrapper, then I imagine there can be an issue where like the actual function that that void pointer points to either returns a 4-byte thing or an 8-byte thing. Like, it doesn't matter that I get the type right. It's not I would have no problem just casting this to the right function pointer type. The problem is that if I have is that I would need two different function signatures on the game code to make it work. This would all be much easier if I could just store this in like thread memory. I know this exists, so let me just do some research. Thread memory. So data suggests that I could have a here's what I'm trying to avoid. One, I don't want to have the platform or the game code be compiled with different macros on different operating systems. So I don't want to have to say on this operating system compile the game code to return void pointers, and on this for its thread procs, and on this game or in this platform have it return D words or whatever. I want them to actually be a thing where I can compile it once and use the same executable that is produced from that in both places should I want to do that. Just by stripping out the DLL stuff and loading it manually. The other thing I'd like to be able to do is I'd like it to I guess that covers the whole thing. I'd like the game code to be compiled the same no matter what platform it's on, and the operating system code to look at the incoming function pointer and use it correctly. And the thing I'm just trying to avoid is having to do a lot of duplicate work in the platform to allocate a data structure that is needed on the platform for both sides. Now, why can't maybe you guys have suggested this and I was too stupid to figure it out what you were saying, but I bet one thing I could do is pass this at this level. Right? So I pass this. Okay, so I'm passing the thread data pointer from the game level. So data, it's not about that the game needs to know what the platform is giving you. I'm talking about when I call create thread. Let me show you this again, right? Right here, I call create thread. The thing I pass right here has to be the signature that it wants it to be. And I can't just cast that to a different type. I can't lie to it and say this returns a D word when it's actually a pointer to a procedure that doesn't return a D word, because I don't know what happens with registers when it's expecting a return of 8 bytes or 4 bytes and it actually returns nothing or returns a different number. So I imagine that the return type has to be correct for whatever that pointer actually points to. I can't give it a procedure that returns void and lie to it and say that it returns something it doesn't, because I imagine that would cause weird issues. So the problem is create thread and pthread create do not take the same signature here, so I have to wrap it. It's not nothing to do with what the game sees from the platform, but rather what the platform sees from the game that is incompatible. If I have one game type signature, then that one signature has to be correct on both platforms, but I think I've cracked it. So what I'll do is, instead of passing the thread proc and the putter, I'll actually pass the thread data as if it's already allocated on the heap. So now the platform isn't in charge of that allocation, the game is. Or at least the shared side of the code is. right? It could still be that it's not in the game code, but in the platform part. Okay, and then the data comes in. We don't have to set that. We just grab the data pointer and we pass it to wrapper thread proc. Okay, that will work. Okay, so now everyone just receives the pointer already on the heap, and since I don't want to duplicate how I get stuff off the heap, I'm saying someone else has to pass in this already allocated on a heap because it's not my responsibility. It's inappropriate for the platform layer to be doing duplicate work across, or at least for the operating system portion of the platform layer to be doing the duplicated work of allocating on the heap this data structure. Okay. So that will change how my thread launch down here goes, because this now has to be a thread data, but that's okay because this is main, which has the unusual property that you can actually pass a pointer to something from main and trust that it will be around for a while. So this really ought to have a if not defined jam to system decals h define. Yeah, and don't worry about it, Data. It's hard to describe these things. You know, we're both just using you're using text, and I'm trying to program and talk at the same time. There's bound to be difficulty understanding what we're each saying. But since that will be around forever, I can do that, and then I want to make a thread data thread proc putter. So that yeah, that is good there. There we go. Thread data jam to main 0. There we go. So that should be able to launch that thread and return the handle, which we just ignore, but that's fine. Then we wait for a signal right there. We'll have to actually initialize that, I imagine. So before this, we need to thread init signal sys.created window equals thread init signal handle thread init signal. There we go. Okay, so that's cool. We'll need to stub that out. Not implemented. Perfect. What else we have? Okay, so that's good. That should be able to launch that thread now. We need to talk about how signals work. So a signal, in my mind, is a thing where you initialize it, and then one or more threads can wait on it, and then Yeah, I was right. A signal actually does need a separate struct, but one or more threads wait on it, and then eventually it gets hit. That signal is hit, and all of those threads stop waiting. They wake up and move on, and then the signal is forevermore hit, or I maybe want to have a thing that like unsignals a signal or resets a signal. Yeah, how would I do that? The easy way that I can think of is with a mutex and a condition variable. A semaphore kind of does the same thing. Yeah, I think this is the wrong primitive. I should be a little more general than this. So this is something more like, I want to be able to say this thread waits. It's such a useful wrapper, but at this low level, what it should actually be saying is, I wonder what it could be. I'm imagining that I'll just use a mutex, then whoever inits it has kind of responsibility to wait for it eventually. So I could create the mutex and then wait for a signal on the condition variable. But I don't want to mutually lock those threads out forever, just until that event happens. Not implemented is just right here, just an assert that always fails that I put into code so that when I'm speccing out like, oh, I did write some usage code first and I've got the function calls and then I want it to compile, so I write the function signature, and then when it hits that, like I put not implemented in so that if I actually run the code and it hits that, it's like a to-do, like, this is the next thing I need to implement for it to run farther. Because I don't know, for some reason it's fun to see progress, so it's like you run until you hit a not implemented, and then you go, okay, that's the one that we need to implement next to make more progress, and then you run again until the next not implemented comes up. TMRNB asks if I could play around with this on Linux. I'm not sure if that would help me right now. I don't have something like that. I mean, I have a Linux laptop over here, but you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. But I also don't think that would help me, because this is more about trying to pick. Well, I don't really need to pick an API here. Yeah, this doesn't even have to be a general API now that I think about it. So let me simplify. Every operating system. Oh, the only reason is I was trying to avoid duplicating that. yeah, I want some way of saying something like execute the following code on a different thread, on this particular thread. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify down to right now what we're going to have is an indefinite sleep right here, and I'll figure out how to wake up from it later. Hi, Software TV, whatever. Hopefully that was good enough. I'm working on a new game engine from scratch today. I'm going to work on it for a few weekends, possibly next weekend or over the next couple of weeks. It's just when I do a game jam, I like to use a custom engine. And I've had one that I used for a couple game jams, and this time I decided to do a new one from scratch because I was kind of in the mood to do some game engine setup, and I want one that has better features for like graphics card support, better modern OpenGL with like shaders and management especially. So yeah, and this is to using the game jam that I'll be working on. David, no, I don't need to for this game open and close windows. The reason I'm doing this goofy different architecture is as an experiment, because in 4Coder I do kind of want to be able to someday open and destroy windows that are all in the same process, and so I'm experimenting with finding an API that will be able to do that. So I'm actually over-engineering for the purpose of the game, but it's for the sake of an experiment for something bigger than what I actually need to solve for the case of the game. Alright, so yeah, I'm hitting window init, which is the one I want to be working on. So when someone calls window init, what I want to do is I want to transition control from the generic thread to the system, like to the operating system specific thread, because the operating system specific thread, at least in the case of Windows, has to open the window, although probably like in Mac that'll have to be the way it works too, at least. So I might as well just say that that's always the rule. When you call window init, your generic thread stops for a moment and it runs some code on the main thread, and when that code is done, it resumes, the game thread, or at least wakes them both up. So how do I do that? I knew how to do this in the past. I'm just blanking right now. I'm a little rusty on complex thread stuff. So what do you do? What do you do? You have to somehow signal to wake up and run some code, and then oh, I get it, okay. So what I want to do then, do I know which window? I don't, that is a problem, isn't it? Get message, do I actually want get message to have that there? Sometimes it's better when it says 0 right there, right? Yeah, that's optional. That's it. Okay. There we go. You, go away. There's this, so they should have like a note on get message and peak message, which is like, here's hwin. By the way, you almost never want to pass anything in here, because it seems obvious that you just pass in your Windows handle, but you actually don't. You pass it 0 unless you're doing something specific. The default that you should do is pass 0, and that's like, I had a bug in 4Coder where I was passing the window handle, and so the language bar on Windows was all messed up until I realized, like, oh, actually, you pass 0 there. Okay, and the reason for this, in this case, is I want to be able to catch the messages that I want to be able to catch a message that I'm going to send to that thread. So, let's see, one of these probably. Post a message to the message queue of the specific thread. It returns without waiting for the thread to process the message. Okay. Post a message in the message queue associated with the thread that created the specific window. It returns without waiting for the thread to process the message. Okay, so it's not post that I want. Send message callback. Send message. Sends the specified message to a window or windows. It calls the window procedure for the specified window and returns immediately if the window belongs to another thread. After the window procedure processes the message, the system calls a specified callback function, passing the result of the message processing and an application-defined value to the callback function. No. Send message. Sends the specified message to a window or windows. The send message function calls the window procedure for the specified window and does not return until the window procedure has processed the message. Send a message and return immediately. Send message callback or send notify message. To post a message to a thread's message queue and return immediately. Use the post message or post thread message function. Handle to the window whose procedure will receive the message. If this parameter is hwin broadcast, the message is sent to all top-level windows in the system. Message sending is subject to... how do I send it to a thread, though? Yeah, Datter, the plan is to someday be able to support 4Coder that does multiply windows or one window, multiple panels, or both, so that you can, from the custom layer, program how you want that to work. So you can say, like, when, for instance, you could say something like, none of my commands should create panels, and let my Windows Manager handle all of the windowing for me. So you just always have single panels, and then i3 can handle it for you. Or if you're like on situations I have sometimes, like on Mac, which the Mac version's not really up and running yet, but with like Sublime, where it's like I'd really like to have this open twice as two different windows, but I want several files in each, kind of a thing. I imagine that I might want that with 4Coder someday, so I'm looking to just generalize two different concepts of like the process can have multiple windows, each window can have one or more panels. I'm trying to make that all happen. Like slowly, I'm experimenting with if that's possible. Ooh, I like discrete maths too. Discrete maths is probably the best class I took in school. It's the one I ended up being an IA for 3 semesters. I loved it. Hmm. Okay. So the situation is I want to be able to send a message to a thread and wait for the result. I'm a little unsure how to make this happen. Basically, my goal, maybe someone here knows a little bit more about how these things work than me, so I'll just tell you guys my goal. My goal is that this will just sit here forever and ask for messages, and when I want to run something on this thread, the other thread can post a message, and that will run on this thread. But in this particular case, I want to be able to return some results from that post. Right? I want to be able to post, hey, create me a window, and then give me the handle. And the way you would normally do that is you would use send message, but that requires that you tell it what window you care about. I could create a dummy window that isn't actually there. What is this? Determines whether the current window procedure is processing a message that was sent from another thread. Determines whether the current window procedure is processing a message that was sent from another thread. That doesn't help. I feel like my best bet is post thread message, because nothing else is. I would like a send thread message, but it's like missing. I would need a thread ID, the message, and the parameters, which I could get. And then I would just put myself to sleep on a signal. Somehow. No, I don't. World s ender. I don't want it to return immediately. What I want is the behavior of send message, which the function calls. The send message function calls the window procedure for the specified window and does not return until the window procedure has processed the message. In other words, I want my thread to sleep until the message has been handled, but I don't have a way to do that for a thread, right? Because what's happening is this here is going to keep looping. I think I'm just going to create a dummy window is what I'm going to do. 'Cause I don't see any other way to make this happen. So can I, like, Google create dummy window win32? What are you guys talking about? Is this Win32? What is this? There we go. Um, there we go. Let's take a look. Message only window. Apply age existing message only window. Ooh, World S Ender asks, why don't I post a message back to the calling thread? That could work. The other thing I'm worried about is I don't think I can just I mean, I don't want to have to create a message queue on that thread. It wouldn't be too hard to do. I'm gonna try this. Feel like this is the way they want me to do it. Alright, let's see. What I'm getting at is I don't want to have to create a message queue. Wait, what are you talking about? I would have to create a message queue on the calling thread too? So both the receiving and calling threads would need message queues for this to work? Hmm. Why would both threads need... Since when... No, sorry. I'm reading the chat instead of saying what I wanted to do. So I would need two message queues. Yeah, I know the dummy window has a message queue. There are two threads. What I'm getting at is one of them has a message queue either way. I can't get away from it. I want that one to have a message queue because it's going to receive input. I want the other one to not have a Windows message queue. I want it to be able to call and say, I put a message on this queue, and then I wait for it to return, but I don't myself have a queue. Right, so this one over here doesn't want a queue, just this one. And he's going to be running and say, oh, I'm going to post a message and wait for it to come back, or send a message and wait for it to come back. That doesn't really have anything to do with putting a message on my queue, does it? I mean, I can see how you could post one here, wait, and then post one here. But I don't want to have a message queue on the caller thread. I know what I can do. I still feel like I might have to create a window for this to work. So I'm going to leave this code sitting around in case I find a use for it later. But I think I know what I want to do. So when this comes in, I'm going to take a lock. I'm going to call that mutex. Thread take mutex, thread release mutex, and what that will be is in sys window create mutex. Then what we'll do is that and that, I guess. Okay. So yeah, this will work. So we have a mutex called window create mutex. Over here we just need to introduce mutex. Something like that. And so we take and release a mutex. Then in the middle here we're going to post message on a thread. Status assert status does not equal 0. Okay, so then we'll post onto the thread, and what we need to do is we need to get a thread ID, and then after that I'm going to do what is the name for the let's see, and then I need to what was I doing? I was getting the I need the well, hold on, let me get this done first. So thread I'm going to reorder this. Thread mutex take, thread mutex release, thread condition wait. That will take window create condition. So we take the mutex, we post onto the thread, we set win32 dot mutex condition window create condition, and then we need window create finished. And so here we set that to false, post the message, assert the status, and then while this is still false, we keep waiting on the condition until we wake up and find that it is true, and then we release the mutex and we have a thread. Now the only problem left is at that point we need to set the handle, which is the win32 window handle, and then we can release that. Okay. There we go. Okay, okay. So that is good. Don't think I need you. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I think I still need something that creates the queue. Okay, so this takes mutex, posts, we'll work on the post in a moment, initializes this to false, does the post, then it waits to find that the window is finished, and it gets the window out from that variable, and it releases so that someone else can come along and take it and make a new window if they want to, and returns that window. Okay. Now we just have to finish post thread message. So let's see. What I want is WM. Well, here, give me a new copy of this. WM user. So this is going to have WM jam2 create window as its first. There we go. And so that's what we're sending here. W param L param. Just specific information. We're going to set those both to 0 actually. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this API a little bit to say, let's be simpler. Decals. Okay, so let's imagine, can I do something like this? First of all, set window title. Okay. I'd also like to be able to set window size. Great, okay. So I can do those things. Then the only remaining question is, can I do them from other threads? Okay, cool. Looks like it'll work. So, I'm going to redo this a little bit. Window title, window title handle window char star title. So window title, window size, width height is that window followed by width height. Window width height. I'll also do a window show, window visible, void window visible, handle window b32 visible, window visible, and finally a window full screen, window full screen, void window full screen, handle window full screen. Window full screen, window full screen. There we go. And then main.cpp will init, and then it will window title, that window test, then it will window size, window 800, 600, and then it will window full screen, window true, and then it will window visible, window true. Okay, now we need to write out these guys real quick. Thread mutex take. That's just a mutex void thread mutex take mutex pointer mutex thread mutex take mutex thread mutex release mutex void thread mutex release mutex mutex thread mutex release. There we go. We're also going to want a thread mutex init mutex void thread mutex init mutex thread mutex init mutex. Okay. Then what we can do is down here, before we launch the main thread, we thread mutex init sys dot let's see, window create mutex. Yeah, okay. And I will go ahead and put all of these in here as well, with a good old not implemented macro. And then for conditions, I have thread condition init condition void thread condition init condition condition thread condition init condition. Define thread condition wait condition mutex void thread condition wait condition mutex mutex thread condition wait condition mutex. Define thread condition signal condition void thread condition signal condition condition thread condition signal. There we go. Now this is too long, so we'll call this cond. We'll drop this all the way down to C and M perhaps. And then let me sort these out. Mutex condition 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 condition. Alright, brilliant. now we just need to implement all that. But first, thread condition init. Condition. Right, now we need to figure out that thread ID. So my question is, can I get thread ID from handle? Or do I need to store the thread ID inside my thread handle somehow? Wait, there it was. Get thread ID. Perfect. Alright, so this will get the thread ID. I just need to go to handle on the main thread. Wait a minute, post thread message. Wait, what's thread ID main thread? Let's try that. So this is not you. Get rid of you. sys.threadID, or we'll just call this win32.threadID. Okay, where are we at here? All right. Win32. That should really be under here, actually. Window create mutant. Yeah. Yep, that seems correct. Okay. So I initialize my platform-specific memory to 0. There is no shared system struct. That gets duplicated. I init all of my things that I need for window creation on this platform. And now I just need to make sure we're compiling real quick and find out what thing to implement first. Okay, we're going to implement these 6 guys first. Got it. So, if we come back here, critical section. Cool. Might use that. Is there a better thing? Let's see. Condition variable. condition variable. Okay, so condition variable and critical section are the ones we want. Initialize condition variable. Okay. Condition and mutex. Okay. And let's see. Critical section pointer is what you get where you take, we'll call this CS, or M equals critical section pointer cast of mutex M initialize critical section. Perfect. Okay, and you condition variable, same gig. Treat that condition handle. Now the only thing we have to do is we have to assert that the size of the critical section is less than or equal to the size of mutex. Down here, same thing with condition variable. C. There we go. Hey, welcome back, Theater. Okay, so that does the initialization. Next up, we want to be able to take and release mutexes. So enter critical section and leave critical section. Okay. So that lets me take and release mutexes. Now I want to be able to wait and signal on conditions. Initialize condition variable. Wait, hold on, back that up. Why don't you have... okay. We want this. Wait, back that up. Open that in a new tab. Oh, I do have this open over here. Wakes all threads waiting on the specified condition. Wakes a single thread waiting on the specified condition variable. Open a new tab. Great. Okay, so I want to be able to sleep on a condition variable. So this involves doing this and this. And let's see. Condition variable, mutex. Let's put you up here actually. Milliseconds. Can I do infinite? Yes. Okay. So that should give me an infinite wait on that condition variable and release atomically the mutex so that someone else can come along and take it and signal the that reminds me, what I should actually do is have like U32 window create pending count. Yeah. How do I want to do this? Because if I have several window create requests come in, it could be like 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what I want is I actually want to wait until this is available. Okay, so I wait for that to become available. Once I have it, I set that to status equals window create status pending, and then I do another such wait Then I do another such wait, just like this one down here, but now I'm not waiting for it to become available, I'm waiting for it to become finished, at which point I set it to available. There we go. Window create status available pending finished, and on condition variables we need available and finished. So the idea is, first we come in and we're waiting until we are sure that no one else is in the middle of creating a window. Once we're sure of that, we post a thread message to the main thread saying, hey, go ahead and create the window, and then we wait to find out that the window has been created, and then we read off our result. We update the status and we release our mutex so that someone else can come in and see that it's available. We also at that point then need to signal the Win32 window create condition available condition in case there's a somebody sitting there waiting. So one of them wakes up, takes it, gets their window, waits or posts their message, waits for their window, gets their window, and then wakes somebody else up if there is anyone there, or just sends a signal to nobody. Then what I need to do is come down here where we need to get current thread ID. Get current thread ID. Takes nothing. Okay, so that just initializes that having its thread ID, which is good so that we can call it. How's that look? Uh-oh. So the size of the critical section looks like this, and the size of mutex looks like this. Now, what type is mutex? It's a mutex pointer. Right. Let's try that again. Still not good enough. Okay, so this needs quite a bit more juice than I'm giving it for a mutex. Okay. Of these. Okay. And can you make your condition variables? Looks like you can. And you're running. Are you running? I can't tell. Control, pause. Yeah, you're sitting there waiting for a message. We've got other threads, right? This guy here is sitting here sleeping on a condition variable because it's okay, so it came in here, found that it was available, and it updated the create status. It posted a message to the thread, which probably got dequeued, and now it's waiting to get a signal that the thing is finished, but it never gets one because we haven't written the code that does that yet. Brilliant. Okay, so next up, the next stop of this process is over here. We need to be able to actually get that message and deal with it. So let's do that. Let's see. If message equals wm jam to create window, then what we want to do is do basically the create window logic. So I'm going to call a procedure here that's like window init win32 create window in thread safe slot. There we go. Internal void. And what this needs to do is it now decides that it's its turn to take that mutex and then release it later. And it needs to pending. Does he need to wait on a condition variable? I think he just doesn't have to, because this here is the thing that wakes it up. And so it will get woken up already, and it will come through, it will find that it should always, okay, so we'll just assert that it should always find the current create status is window create status pending. And then, let's see. It's going to create a window. So, let's take a look at that call now. Create window. What do you need? Fill up my water real quick. Should probably stop and have lunch and maybe catch some of Croifa's stream if he's still streaming at some point here. But I want to get a window up before I stop. I think I'm close. Okay, so I have to specify the class name. We'll call this the game window class. Window name. We'll set it to nothing to begin with. DW style. What styles do I want? By default, I think I want a tile window. Yeah, we'll take that for now. We will not set it to be initially visible. What else can we do? So I'm going to use defaults. Okay. Let's see. These will use defaults as well. A handle to the parent window. That'll be nobody. No H menu. H instance. A handle to the instance of the module to be associated with the window. We'll say nobody. I better do somebody, right? Win32.instance. Each instance. Alright. Create window. Still working on you there. So after the instance, what else can you take? L param. A pointer to a value to be passed to the window that creates struct. Okay. Boom. Okay, I better check out what message actually is, I guess. Message. msg.message is what I want. Let's see how that goes. So he's still waiting to get a message. He is still waiting there. Okay, so I'm going to put a breakpoint there and check this out. So here we are. We're on my generic entry point thread. We begin creating. We set pending status. We post a thread message. Now what I want to see is if this wakes up. So let's see. Resume. Yeah, that woke up. Yes. Okay, got it. Create window. Now what does create window return? It returns an hwind. Okay, and then from hwind, we should be able to set win32 dot new window handle. So that sets us a new window handle. And then what we want to do is we want to set the status to being equal to window create status finished. So it creates a window. First it takes the mutex, so no one else can do anything until we're done with this. Then we create a window. We're on the main thread now, creating a window using these rules, and then we cast that hwind to the new window handle, and we signal that, right, we have to signal the condition variable too. Window create condition finished. So wake up. I've set the condition to be finished now, and then it releases, which allows this guy to wake up and take the thread again, or take the mutex again, and then it can finish that and allow the next person in. Okay. We never wrote the signal function. Okay. Thread condition signal. Where are you at? There you be. Condition variable. Wake condition variable. Now what? Okay, now I need to set all those window setting the window values up. Okay. So I want to be able to set window text. So to hwind the window. Title. Set window position. Again, to window, or to hwind, that should be all caps though. Okay. flags. What can we do here? The window sizing and position flags. This parameter can be combined. Using window defer. Let's try 0. Okay. Now I need to figure out x, y values. I think I can get window position, right? Do you have that down here? Fine, I'll get it myself. Get window position. Get window rect. Okay. Rect. Rect. And what is in a rect structure? Left and top. By the way, this comes back in what kind of coordinates? Screen coordinates of the upper left and lower right. Screen to client. Point, H-wind, point. Okay, what's in a point structure? Get the rect, screen to client, long x, long y. Okay. Point dot x equals rect dot left dot top, and then we'll just do point dot x, point dot y. Okay. Visible. This one I believe is just window set window visible. Window show window. True. To H-wind window. Finally, full screen. I'm actually going to put that off for just a moment because it's a pain in the butt. What are we hitting? Poll message. Alright. So let me just take off that as well, so that we can see the window pop up. I never got a window. Ah. Well, this isn't the problem, but it certainly is a problem. Let me make sure that I actually, I'm not getting errors all over the place here. That doesn't look good. I didn't set up the window class yet. Create window. Local persist. Window class setup equals false. If we have not set up the window class, set it to true. Local persist, let's see, create window register class. Window class. Gonna need one of these. Well, gonna need this. Well, gonna need this. Window class. Now give me all of this. Window class dot all of these guys. Okay. Now, style, class styles. What kind of styles are we thinking of here? Class styles. Window class styles. H redraw. Redraws the entire window if a movement or size adjustment changes the width of the client area. H redraw, V redraw. I think we want both of those. Okay. What's this one? A pointer to the window procedure. You must call the yes. Game window proc. To do, we have to fill out game window proc. Result equals def window proc hwind umessage wparam lparam return result. The number of extra bytes to allocate following the window class is initialized the bytes to 0. Okay, so you are going to be 0.
Number of exploits allocated following the window instance. 0. H instance handled the instance it contains. Okay. Procedure for this class. That would be Win32 instance. H icon. Null for now. Cursor. Null for now. Background. Null for now. LPSZ menu name, the resource name of the class menu, that'll be null. And then finally the class name. Game window class. Hey, that's a window. That is a window. Alright, so if I hit close, it didn't close everything out. I assume that's because when I hit close, it didn't send anything to tell the other thread to die, which is fine. We'll get that fixed so that it works properly. Alright, so we can pull up a window now, and we can make it visible. We can change its, wait, let me make sure that it actually set like, yeah, the title is test. That's good. Since it was initially a zero-sized window, it gave it a dumb location. Let me give it a bigger, like a default. Let's see, 40 by 30. Yeah, why is it putting the window up there? It is odd, isn't it? As soon as I resize it, it fits it back into the right area. By the way, yeah, so it's running at full speed on that thread, so I'll shut it down. But there we go. So that's stage 1. I can open up the window. I have threading basics down. Threads is down. I still need to do the other 4 things in this list, and we've put 3 hours into it so far. So I'm going to stop, take a break for lunch, see if there are any other good streams to watch for a little while, and I might do some programming off stream, but I plan on continuing sometime today, so you can look forward to that. See you later.